up, guys? It's Dave back here in the podcast room. Scattered Chaos. I'm super excited to have a special guest with us today, Mr. Jimmy Smith. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Dave.
I'm so excited to get you here. For those that don't know Jimmy, Jimmy is one of our recipients for UrbanPaws. He gets to manage Crazy Beretta. You did start with Nelly first, right?
No, I started with Smitty.
Oh, you started with Smitty. Yeah, Smitty. Boy,
That was a tough one.
that was a tough one. He made you work.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm an old man, man. He was dragging me around like I was a little doggy. He was dragging me.
He was walking you?
Yeah, I wasn't walking him.
Oh my God! So so now you have Beretta, and it's like almost a perfect fit.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girl's great.
she's awesome.
Yeah,
She's
she
such a
is.
sweetheart.
Yeah, she is.
It's so funny to see her like next to Smitty and Zero, and they're like, she's smaller,
Yeah.
but yet so fierce.
I know it.
She's definitely
She's tough.
the big sister. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, thanks for being on here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So a little bit of background. Jimmy has been a San Francisco staple for many years. He was part of the limousine industry, along with my dad and David Lipschultz and
Yeah.
Butch Henke, who you guys met in previous. He's got a lot of good stories. But we want to first start talking about the dog and, how has it helped you and what are you feeling? Give me your feelings now with having the dog.
Well, with the dog, I had a lot of anger issues and stuff, and it's just because the way I was brought up in San Francisco. And my dad was a San Francisco cop.
Yeah.
And, he's one of them. All his friends took care of me.
Right.
He told them, put me in jail,
Yeah. We're going to talk about that. These are good stories.
Yeah, but, all these things. And, when I was a little kid, I was just rebelling as hell. And the thing was that when I was 4.5 years old, I used to live at 1308 Montgomery Street on top of the hill. And I got busted by the FBI. And my dad just became a cop in 1952. He drove the Muni before that. And all the cops, they used to have the call boxes, and they'd call him down to him and says, Jimmy just got busted by the FBI. And he goes, you're kidding me, And so the story was that, I used to sit in front of my grandmother's stairs and watch the postman go by, and I said, wow, that's pretty cool. He puts it in the box. I used to follow him, take all the mail out. And I used to put it under my grandmother's stairs. And the trip was that I did it for almost a year, and they had FBI, trying to catch the guy who was stealing the mail, and finally one day, I was going up the street and I had a bunch of mail under my arm, and this guy in the suit says, hello, little boy. He goes, what do you have there? And I said, I got mail. He goes, do you have a lot of that? And I go, oh, I got tons of it. He goes, where is it? And he goes, oh, come on, I'll show you. It's behind my grandmother. It's behind the stairs.
Oh, my God.
So I took it in there, and there must have been a whole bobtail full of mail. It was almost a year. And so he said, grab my hand, and he takes me out in front of the house, and the other guy was across the street. And the other guy goes, don't tell me it's that little kid. And he goes, it's him.
Oh my,
Yeah,
Jimmy!
yeah.
At 4.5,
4.5 years old.
you got busted by the FBI. You might be the youngest criminal that's ever
Really?
been busted by the FBI.
For stealing mail.
So what did they end up doing?
They didn't do nothing, They just talked to my dad
Yeah.
and my mom and stuff,
What are they going to do with a 4.5-year-old? But they didn't file anything against your parent.
No, they didn't do anything, because the hill was the hill back then. I was born and raised in North Beach, and, I lived at where the 39 Coit turns around. I don't know where Julius Castle is. And the whole block's like dead ends.
Right.
Up on the top
Top
of the hill.
Yep.
So, it's like it was a free-for-all when we were kids.
Right.
And I used to hang around with all the older kids. They're the ones that taught me how to smoke and all that stuff. And I used to steal cigarettes from my mom. And I'd be under the stairs smoking a cigarette, smoke coming
When was
out.
the first time you smoked?
I think I was about maybe 5.5, 6.
Jeez.
Yeah,
It was a different time back then.
Yeah, and everybody in the family smoked and they drank,
Right.
Everybody.
So they were busy doing their own thing.
And when they were drinking and they were partying and stuff, I used to run around and drink all their drinks and get smashed, They had to put me in a, what do you call it? They had to put me in a bathtub because I almost died, man. I was just blowing out,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, bring my temperature
They
down.
put
Yeah.
ice water and
Oh
everything.
yeah. Oh
Those are the old days.
yeah.
You didn't call 911. There was
no,
not for that.
no. They took care of it. You know?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you grew up in San Francisco, obviously. Going a little bit back to the dog,
Okay.
growing up and going through the Vietnam War and experiencing some of the PTSD that you obviously have.
Well, I think the PTSD I had was it was a little bit growing up.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, my mind works different than all my friends and everything. Like, I graduated from high school without even going to high school, It's like, I knew the whole system, I was just really good, I was really sharp that way, you
Right.
know.
So you were very street smart.
Yeah, I could pick up things really quick. And
Okay.
my dad really hated that because I was that street smart. And I don't know if you know this lawyer, his name was, what was his name? He was a big criminal lawyer
In San Francisco? I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, but anyway, I'll get to his name.
Okay.
Oh, it's Jake Ehrlich.
Okay.
Well, Jake, when he met me when I came back from Vietnam, we were at Sam's and down on the, in the financial district eating, and he had 2 pearl handle 45s, and he's telling me, he's going, "Hey, Gene, is this kid good for you? Has he been respectful to you?" My dad goes, "Yeah," and I looked at him and I go, "Who the hell are you?"
That's not how you said it. You said, "Who the fuck are you?"
Well, that's what I really said. But I'm trying to be nice.
No, I want the true story. I
Okay.
don't cover it up.
Okay, so, and my dad goes, "Jimmy, that's Jake. He does a lot of things for the police officers." I said, "Okay, but why does he ask me questions like if I'm good to you? You know where I'm at,
Right.
So he goes, "Jimmy, you're been a while ever since you were born, and he's took me to things like before I went in the Marine Corps. I was 13 years old. They took me to psychiatrists and stuff, trying to figure me out, which they could never do,
Right.
because every time they thought they had me,
You figured him out.
yeah, they call my parents in, and the psychiatrists would go, 'Will you just tell them what you just told me?' And I said, 'I ain't saying that in front of them,'
You're fucking
And then
crazy.
my dad's going, 'Let's get out of here.'
Right.
He's too smart for us, man.
Right.
I'm telling you. So he thought I was going to get me in a lot of trouble from all the kids I was hanging, because a lot of them like Gino Del Preti and stuff.
Okay.
They own Sneaky Pete.
Right. The old school game.
Yeah,
the old school crew.
the whole screw. But I was the youngest out of all these people.
If you need to make it tighter, push it
Yeah,
down.
I was the youngest out of all these
There you
people,
Yeah.
And I used to go in their bars and stuff, and they tell them, "Hey, you're going to jail, man." I go, "Why?" I go, "Half these people are loaded, man,
Right.
on shit." And they're going, "Jimmy, you think because your dad's a cop." And I go, "All right." Next day, they were all going to jail.
Because you just knew.
Yeah. I just have that act. And my dad, but before, I was a little after, but before that, when I was 13, he sent me to this thing. It's called The Guardian. It's run by the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Down in Camp Pendleton. And it's called the Devil Pups. And he goes, "This will straighten his ass out." So I went down there
This is a good story.
for 2 weeks. And I loved it. I just loved the discipline.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
Right.
So my dad, I get back and he goes, "Shit, what are we going to do with this guy?"
Right.
So he takes me to Quentin. He's going to show me something.
Right.
So this is where you're going to end up. You keep on fooling around like you are. I said, "Well, okay, let's go for it, Go ahead, take me in there, So my dad checks in his pistol and stuff, and we're going down the corridor. All these people started going, "Hey, little Jimmy, what are you doing, man?" And my dad goes, "Let's get out of here right now." He goes, "How do you know these? They're from the hill."
They're all from the same
Yeah,
community.
they're all from North Beach.
Fuck.
Yeah, they're all Italians, man.
Right.
Yeah,
If you guys, everybody back in those days, you guys kind of all stuck together.
Yeah.
Italians, the
Yeah.
Asians.
Well, I'm half Spanish. My
Oh.
mother's from Spain.
Oh, okay.
And my mother has 13 kids, in her family. 7 sisters and the rest brothers. One died, from birth, I guess. But all of them married Italians except for my mom. And my mom was the youngest. She married my dad, which was a Mick,
Wow.
He was an Irish guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but, the hill was mine,
You grew up it.
Anything that went wrong on the hill, they said, "It's got to be little Jimmy." It's got to. He's
That is so. And the fact that your dad was a cop is even better.
And the other thing nobody knows about San Francisco, like I do, is like where we lived,
Yeah.
right behind Union Street, where you could walk down
Right.
to Sampson. Well, under there, you can go under the whole North Beach, and that's where they used to bring in all the booze and stuff.
Really?
And when we were all kids, man, we used to run around with torches because a lot of big rats down
Right.
there and stuff.
I never knew
Oh,
that.
yeah. Oh, it's a trip. Well, I don't know if you heard about that book. What is it? The Seasons of the Witch.
No.
The Seasons of, you have to read this book.
Okay.
Especially if you're from San Francisco, because that's everybody.
Right.
And I knew all those people. All the people were older than me.
Right.
I was the youngest out of this whole group.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and they used to laugh. I'd be in bars like when I was a kid, man, drinking 3 pigs down in the Tenderloin and shit, learning how to play gamble.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was just that way.
What year was that roughly?
Oh shit! Let me see. When I was doing that, I was like 8 or 9 years old.
And what year were you born?
I'm 48.
Like my mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
48. Yeah.
Okay. Crazy.
Yeah.
So you obviously growing up in San Francisco, those times were a little bit different than they are now.
A lot different.
Right, a lot different.
A lot different.
You
can't get away
right.
with none of that.
So
crap.
let's talk about a little bit of like your high school years. Obviously, you said you graduated,
I graduated.
so that was a plus.
Well, I'll tell you, I went to school. My dad was working out of, I think he was working out of Ingleside at the time. I'm not sure, but anyway, I went to Lincoln High School because they kicked me out of North Beach. I mean, they kicked me out. They kicked me out of Sacred Heart. They wouldn't let me go because I went to Salesians and I slapped a nun in the 3rd grade.
Oh my goodness!
And my dad kicked my butt all the way up and down the street. I'm sitting on,
But this was you.
But me.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, my youngest brother. Oh, he died at 46.
That's right. You told me.
Yeah.
I know you have a sister.
Yeah,
how many
I
sisters?
3.
3 sisters.
Yeah.
So you're the oldest?
Yep.
Wow. So they got, as you were growing up, they got to watch all the stuff you were doing.
They got it all watched, and I messed with every one of them.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Were you a bully?
Like bully? No, I wasn't a bully. It's like Pam. Pam she had an eye operation. And she asked me to go get her a Snickers bar, and we were about. She's 2.5 years younger than me. I said no problem. I had a dog named Brownie. It was the family dog. So I went out and got some aluminum foil and got a piece of dog crap, and that's what I used to do to them. I used to tear them. And my sister just had an eye over it. She'd be laying there and she opens the thing. It's just which is funny about the whole thing. To me, it's funny. To them, I'm a sick puppy. But my sister goes, "Mom, Jimmy's trying to give me shit."
It sounded like, wait, real shit or shit like you're bugging him?
No, real shit. Yeah. So, I got my ass chewed out for that, That's the thing. And like Fran had a pet rabbit called Fluffy, One time we were sitting at dinner table, Sunday dinner, and her dad, we had a different dad.
Yeah, different dads, okay.
And they, what do you call it? They said, "Hey." I said, "Fran, doesn't that look familiar on the middle of the table?" She's looking at it. I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest. 2 the closest to me are like 2 or 3 years younger.
Okay.
Then Fran's like 12 and a half. My brother was 14. And I go, "That's Fluffy. We're going to have Fluffy for dinner."
Jesus,
and my
you're an
sister,
asshole.
My little sister starts crying. And
You
stuff.
were such an asshole.
Yeah, that's how I was, though.
But you were the big brother.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have that experience with my brother. He never really, when I was really young,
Yeah.
my brother and sister would they had back in the, Superman,
Oh,
Superwoman underwear.
Yeah.
I was in a, not a crib, but
Bassinet?
yeah, and they would move me into the closet.
Yeah.
And my mom would come back and "Where's David?" And they would be laughing and laughing, and then my mom would find me in the closet.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what they did to me. I didn't have that kind of experience.
Well, yeah, that's what I used to do to them, too. I did the same thing.
So after high school, what did you do?
After high school, I went right in the Marine Corps.
Okay, so 18.
I went right in the Marine Corps, and I went to, San Diego, which they call Hollywood Marines. I was in San Flee, from Camp Lejeune.
Okay.
And I went to radio school, and I went back up to ITR. I went back down for teletype and radio school again.
Wow.
At my first duty station, I went to Barstow, California, which why they sent me there.
Barstow. That
Yeah,
crazy.
no, it was terrible.
Was it?
Anyway, so I get there, the communication center was full. And everybody was asking, how in the hell did this guy get in communications, you know? Guy goes, this guy's smart, man.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You know, back then I was smart. Now I'm losing it. You know, I'm getting older. You know, I'm 75.
You're not losing it. You're
yeah,
fine.
but anyway, but I get there and they said, well, your dad was a cop, so we're going to make you an MP.
Okay.
So I did that for a while. Then I got a little affair with the general's wife. Then,
Wait.
Yeah.
We're not skipping this one.
Well, no, I was, what do you call it? on you know, main gate, you know, and she used to come by and she used to, I look like, when I was young, man, I looked pretty cute. Man.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, so, you know, next thing I know, I'm over his house, man, you know, romping her. You know?
Oh, jeez.
So next thing I know, they make me a cross-country chaser with this gunny. We go to New York and pick up this prisoner. And the guy was like 42 years old. That was my dad's age at the time,
Right.
you know?
Right.
You know, and I was going, oh, my God, you know? So I get it, and we bring him all the way back to, you know, we're in San Bernardino. We're going to take him up to Barstow. Then he's going to get transferred. So the gunny asked me if, you know, I was hungry, and I said, yeah, you know, and he says, what do you want? I said, give me a burger, you know, and some fries. You know, that's cool. So I don't know if it was the first McDonald's or it was like a fast food place. And I was looking at all these hot girls because, you know, I was 18 years old, man. I was going, wow, man,
Right.
you know, I'm missing all this, you know. And the guy, you know, the gunny told me, he said, don't let this guy run on you, you know. And I did the whole story in the Marine Corps is if you lose a prisoner, you do his time,
Okay.
which I found out that's all bullshit.
Right.
Yeah,
'Cause you lied.
I found out the hard way because I got a general court martial. You know, yeah, I found out. I'll tell you how that happened. So I took the handcuffs off. I said the guy can't outrun me.
Right.
Back then I was quick.
Right.
You know, I said I'd catch him in a block. I'd give him a block head start. I was that fast. And then I'm looking at the girls, and I just out of the corner of my eye, he's gone. And
Oh,
I'm looking
fuck.
down the street, and he said, I pull out my 45 and I fucking load it up. You know, and I
Bring it
cranked,
closer.
yeah, I cranked a few off,
Yeah.
and everybody in the parking lot's laying on the ground. And the guy stopped, and he came back, and the gunny comes out, what are you doing? I go, well, I ain't gonna do his time. You
Yeah.
know? He goes, oh, Jimmy, man, you're in trouble, man. I don't know what to do for you, man.
So what ended up
when I
happening?
got back, we got him back to the base.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, you know, they put me down. You know, I couldn't leave base. I couldn't go anywhere. And I was having a general court martial. And I went in front of the general. You know, and it's kind of funny because I'm doing his wife, and he's correcting me, and I'm going, yeah. And he's going, why did you join the Marine Corps anyway? You know.
Yeah.
By that time, because I always was do my own thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always pushing them aside. You know, I'll take care of it. You
Right.
know, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And I had 15 office hours and 2 summary court martials in general. So a guy goes, why did you join the Marine Corps? You know, he said, you should be in Leavenworth. And I go, no, you know, I know what I'm doing. So he goes, why did you join the Marine Corps? I'm going to ask you one more time. I said, I wanted to go to Nam. I didn't want to come to Barstow, California.
Right.
Huh?
Right.
You know, that's the shithole of the world. You know,
Right.
that and 29 Palms. So he goes, is that what you really want? So next thing I knew, I had orders to go to Nam. And that's when it all started there.
Yeah.
When I first checked in Nam, you know, I flew. I never took a boat over. They flew me back and forth
Really?
6 times. I went back and forth 6 times
To Nam?
to Nam. Yeah.
So
I only did 17 months, 22 days. But, you know, like if my mom, I'll tell you
Bring it closer.
that's a funny story in itself with my mom.
okay.
It's the S1 adjutant, when I checked in, he goes like this. He opens my record book and he says, holy shit, how the hell are you still in the Marine Corps? So I'm good what I do. He
Right.
says, well, I'll be the judge of that. Huh? Well, in a month, he goes, you are good.
Fuck.
Yeah. And next thing you know, I got promoted back to corporal. Then I got busted to private. Then I got, because I didn't take shit from people.
You just
know?
did. You did yourself. You did whatever you.
Well, you know, we get these new lieutenants and stuff, you know, but some of them are good, you know. I'm not saying everybody's bad, you know, but they wouldn't listen, you know.
Right.
And I'm looking at their shoes, and that's how you tell they just came from the States.
Right.
You haven't even been there yet,
Right.
you know. And I go, we're not going down there in the valley.
Right.
No, you want to go first, and you come back, then I'll follow you.
Right.
Yeah, that's the way I was. He said, "Well, I'll have your ass." So next thing I know, all this stuff with mom, then every first sergeant wanted me as a radio operator. Then all of a sudden, I get the call. I'm with the SLF Alpha 79.4,
Okay.
which is 15 office hours, 5 hand-picked enlisted guys. And I was one of them.
Okay.
I was the lowest rank
Okay.
out of all of them. And my job was to cross-train, people from teletype and radio and help out what I could do. And I used to fly in country and change the key list in the radios when we get hit.
Okay.
So when there was a hot LZ and we got hit, they fly me off the chopper, from the chopper off the fucking carrier. I was on the USS Iwo Jima in Okinawa.
Oh.
And I fly in and I run into the fucking house now for getting shot at. Change all the radio codes because they had the radio codes.
Oh, so then they couldn't intercept it.
Yeah, we couldn't get our shit.
Right.
So, yeah, that was mostly my job. Then the last week I was there, I hated this one guy. He was a guy who came out of the Marine Corps, then he came back in.
Okay.
And he was a little jerk. And I remember his name completely, Sergeant Nagel. He was an asshole. He's just an asshole. He was one of those guys you just, you meet him and you just go, this guy ain't real.
Right.
And he's always trying to get everybody in trouble.
Right.
And fuck, it's Nam. Come on.
Yeah, it's hell
You
already.
we shouldn't even be here.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I know that now, but it's just like. So anyway, so we're all there, and then we get hit, and I think it was Chulai, or Dad. I think it was Chulai. We got hit, and I was with the 226, Marines, and we're all flying out, and I go grab all my shit, and I'm flying out, and there's Colonel. We had the youngest colonel in the Marine Corps. He grabs me. He goes, "You ain't going anywhere, Jimmy. You're staying here." I go, "No, man, I'm going." I go, "No, man, these are all our guys. I ain't staying there."
Right.
He goes, "No, you're going home, man. You're done. You ain't going to go out there and get killed. You're staying here." I said, "Okay." So I said, "I'm helping out, So they wrote me up this big thing and everything. But I was up on the flight deck helping the corpsmen and shit. I was tying off bodies and fucking, cleaning them up,
Really?
Yeah, And next thing you know, next morning, man, packed my shit and I was going. But before I left, they're all sitting in the communication shack, which is on the SIP. They call it the message center. And here's Diego. He's kicked back in his chair, and I'm looking at Top, and I'm looking at my captain, And I'm going, down. Top's going, "Don't do it." I just fucking Sunday, everybody was sitting there. I just ran out, jumped on the chopper. Fine. Yeah, that's the way I was. And I got out in El Toro. I flew to El Toro. First, I went to Okinawa and did the whole trip. Japan, and back around Okinawa.
How many years?
I did 7 years, all of it, but 3 of it was, inactive reserves.
Right.
But I did 17 months, 22 days, and everybody asked me, "Why do you say 22 days?" And I remember every day.
You do remember?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? I mean, if we could talk just a little bit, because I know
Sure.
we don't want to go too deep.
Yeah.
Like, obviously now hindsight 2020, we should have never been there.
No.
We know that. But as a young kid,
What do I think?
what were you feeling? Do you remember what the feelings were like?
Feeling was when I was young, because my dad was in the Navy, but he was in the Marine Corps when he was 15, and they caught him and they kicked him out. But he's the only guy I know that's got 2 honorable discharges.
Wow.
And when I came home, I made a $5 bet to go in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
That's how crazy I was when I was a kid.
Okay.
I'm not going to lose $5.
No.
I don't give a shit if there's a war going on or not.
You're gonna if you get that $5.
My family and a lot of family members who were in the service, and it comes like that. It's just like a cop. Everybody thought I was going to become a cop.
Right.
But I did a lot of stuff. I was one of the first meter maids in San Francisco. I was the first one.
Really?
Yeah, out of 5, and it was 4 cops' sons and 1 cop's daughter.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I got in so much trouble because I was back from Nam already. This is 1970.
Okay.
And no, I just wouldn't take shit. People thought that they were coming out of bars, and I'm towing their cars, and they hit me and I'm fucking throwing. I'd just grab a chalk stick and just beat the shit out of them,
Jesus
You know,
Christ.
they tell me, Jimmy, if you want to become a cop, become a cop.
Right.
You can't be doing what you're doing,
Right.
or you gotta resign. I said, I'm resigning. I'm going in and be a teamster. I don't care.
So, going back just a little bit with Nam, your feelings.
About Nam?
Yeah.
I'll tell you my whole feelings about
Please,
Nam.
I would love to hear.
And my feelings about Nam, during our time, like everybody was going to college. Everybody was smart as shit back then in the 60s, in the early 60s. And everybody was going to college. Everybody was doing weed and, getting loaded and shit, but they were smart. They were book smart. They knew what was happening. And they had to get rid of us because the government, my belief, this is my belief, I don't know, and I've talked to a few psychiatrists and they go, your story's better than anyone I ever heard.
Okay.
So I just figured they wanted to get rid of us, and they pushed it and pushed it till they got rid of most of us,
Really?
Then when we came back, I blame the people for shitting on us, because, they didn't really understand what we went through, really.
Right.
They knew it wasn't a good thing.
Sure.
Just like any war ain't a good thing, but, shit has to get done. But they try to get rid of us, and not, it's just like every war we've been. I don't think we won anything after World War II.
Right. I agree.
So, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
Is it all about guns? What is it? I don't know. So that's my belief in the whole thing. I think they just wanted to get rid of our generation.
Because you guys were just too smart.
Yeah. And we knew what was happening, and we rebelled against everything.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's my belief.
I mean, it's a really good point. I mean, because the 60s was the rebelling time.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how smart they were to, I knew obviously very educated people during those times, but it's that's a really weird story to think that was possibly, something that
I know. You
don't
don't want to think that way,
right.
but something, it makes sense.
It's funny because, not funny, sorry. We were
That's all right.
myself, Jenny, were in New Orleans last week with
Right.
Rodrigo for an event, and we got a tour. Woody from one of our affiliate companies.
Okay.
Mr. Woody gave us a tour, and we went to the Ninth Ward where Katrina, was.
Right.
And we were sitting and talking about kind of what happened during Katrina, and he brought up that in 1967, there was a similar situation where supposedly a ship got loose from the barge and then ran into the barrier where the dam basically. But they figured out after like 4 or 5 years that there was an explosion, and it was to clear out land so that the rich could buy the land to build on it. But back then, like you're saying, those generation didn't want it. They said, "Fuck you, we're staying."
Yeah.
Well, Katrina happens, and now the talk is that somebody heard. Supposedly, they were people who heard an explosion.
Okay.
So because the Ninth Ward is considered the poorest of that area, and if you hear the story, the water only went to the Ninth Ward. French Quarters didn't get any water at all.
Really?
From the dam, nothing. And so there's been conversations about conspiracies. I'm not a conspiracy theory kind of person, but I mean, if you start thinking about what you just said, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, then you start thinking about everything. Then that's how a lot of shit starts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't, I haven't heard that story before, but I mean, it does make sense. I mean, think about that.
Right.
So you come back from Nam, you do parking meter for a little bit.
Yeah, well, I went to Stockton, and I went up there to do the academy and everything because I worked for UOV as a cop.
Okay.
Right. So I had school of dentistry in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that but then they came up with the meter maids. I said, well, I'll do it. I'll give it a shot.
Sure.
But me, back then.
How long did you last as a meter maid?
Maybe I'll tell you some really funny stories.
I want to hear them.
Anyway, so it was run by the solo bike cops. It was, K. It was K. It was run by Sergeant McKee, and so all of us had our bikes, and we went around with cops first, and they showed us the ropes because they used to do all that stuff.
Right.
And they gave me the tenderloin, which is the worst mistake they ever did in their life. So here's all these female impersonators going, Jimmy, Jimmy, you know, and I used to laugh, you know. I go in the bars, you know, and have a drink with them.
Oh my
You know,
goodness.
I'd be blitzed by 2 hours. I'd be screwed up.
Oh
So I
jeez.
come over here, comes Sergeant McKee, man. He come on and go, Jimmy, man, you can't be hanging around the bars, man. And everybody in the streets knows you, man.
Right.
I said, I'm fine. So I go to get on my bike and I rip the windshield right off and fall on the other side of the bike. So, you know, he goes, so they sent me home, you know. They said, all right, see you tomorrow. I said, okay. So, you know, I did a real good job, though, you know.
Yeah.
I got in a hassle with, I towed Leota's brother's car, Jack, in front of Jack's on Sacramento Street. And he goes, do you know who my brother is? And I go, yeah, it's Joe. And he goes, well, you can't tow my car. And I go, you're not Joe.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm towing your car.
Yeah. You know, I used to do shit like that, piss off everybody, you know.
Oh my God.
But-
I could totally see it too.
Yeah, but that's the way I was. You
Right.
know?
You didn't care.
No. You know, what's right is right. What's wrong. Why am I going to tow somebody else's car and you get to park there?
Right.
You know?
If you're not allowed to park there, don't park
right.
there.
That's right.
So what did you do after?
Well, after that, I went into the Teamsters, but doing that, I got to tell you just two more stories
No,
about
go
the
for it.
Peter Maid thing. It's like all the cops, they used to take their bikes on. And this is for a couple of them. Dad, they'll laugh. There's one alive. You'll probably laugh if you ever hears this.
Well, we're gonna tell him to
So-
watch it.
So anyway, so his name is Vic Verticelli. So me and Vic are going down the street. You know, we're in the garage and we're drinking. It's like 4:30 in the afternoon. It's on Morgan Street.
Okay.
So he goes, you got to take your bike back to the hall, which we had to drop our bikes, but they take their bike home. So we're going down the street and it's starting to rain.
Oh
And
no.
the bike starts going, you know, three wheelers start going sideways, you know. And I look, and there goes Vic, and he's going backwards, sliding. And he hits me, and we're right in front of the federal building.
Oh,
4:30,
jeez.
everybody's getting off work. And I'm laying in the street. And he comes up and says, Jimmy, you all right? I go, yeah, get out of here. I need to get the bike back to the, what do you call it? So I got on the bike, and I took it back, and I parked it in the, what do you call it? We parked it by the vice cutters down under the hall. And next morning, the director of traffic was Dick Brown. He goes, send Jimmy in there. So I have to go in there. He goes, what happened to your bike? I go, what happened to my bike? He goes like this. He goes, you know what happened to your bike? I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, it's all smashed. I went like this. Those goddamn vice guys, they drive their cars in here like they're fucking Godzilla and smashing into our bikes. And he goes, Jimmy, just leave. It's fine.
It's not even worth talking.
Yeah, just get out of here.
Oh, Jimmy.
Yeah.
All right, what's the other story?
But the other story is for that I was towing cars on Sacramento Street again. I told these guys they had an auto shop, you know, and they kept on parking the cars there, and they had about 50 tickets on it. They had writing tickets, you know. Back then we had to write them.
Yeah.
Now it wasn't, you know. Now I'm going like this. You know, I told them. So I got a tow truck, and I just got a couple of them, and I started towing cars. And these guys come running out with wrenches, and they're going to fucking kick my ass. So I'm sitting there with chopsticks, fucking trying to fight them. And the tow truck driver's got his window down. He goes, what do I do? I said, back then it was, I don't remember the number right now, but it was a number you call it means that the officer needs assistance.
Right.
And every cop in the city goes over the hill. They're going like this. Oh, it had to be Jimmy.
Of course.
It's got to be Jimmy.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
so that was it. And then the director of traffic goes, you become a cop or you got to get out of here.
Then you got out.
I got out.
And then you went to the Teamsters.
I went to the Teamsters.
What were you doing for that?
I was driving, you know, Fred Hunt. You know,
Okay.
I worked for PMT and DeSalo and all the, you know, all the old places.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And during the years, you know, I ended up running Breakmeyer, which is an LA company. It came up here, tried to get into, you know, they weren't a union, but they were a union down there.
Okay.
I worked for JC Paper, which is in
Yeah.
San Jose.
Of course.
Yeah, I worked for them for a long time. Yeah, you know, but I couldn't stay in any one place because of my PTSD,
Right.
you know, because
You flared up.
I just, you know, people get boring to me,
Yeah.
you know, so.
It's
And
funny you say that because I have the same problem.
Yeah.
I get bored of people.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't like them.
No.
It's just I get bored
Yeah.
of listening, and then my attention span is gone.
Yeah.
So growing up into, we'll talk about the limo industry because you have really good
I
stories
got good stories there.
but until you got into the limo industry, did you know you have PTSD?
Nobody ever mentioned it to me, but
Okay.
I know now.
Of course.
I know now I had it back then.
But back then they didn't really talk about that stuff.
No.
Okay.
No, and the psychiatrist I have is, the VA. I've been with him like 17 years and everything. Really, really guy, he turned me around. I used to get rid of those guys like they were water.
Yeah.
But this guy, spent a lot of time with me, and he made sense to me.
You clicked.
Yeah. And it's like, at first they tried to put me in these classes with other service guys. So there's nothing against them, But a lot of people that were in the shit, they don't talk about it too much, unless you get really older about it. You don't say anything too much. But, watching the guys over the years, I just got a bad feeling about them.
Sure.
And I go to these classes, and these guys are saying, "Oh, yeah." I go, "Well, where were you?" And they couldn't answer me, and they were going, I go, "No, what area were you in?"
Yeah.
Only 4 areas. Come on.
Right. What were the 4 areas?
It's, Core 1, Core 2.
Oh,
core,
got it.
It's 4 areas. The 3 and 4 are down south, and I Core and everything is up north.
Okay.
So, and I'm going like this, and they're sitting there like, well, I go, "You weren't there. What the fuck are you lying about?"
Right.
This wasn't a place, my best friends didn't go. I'm so happy they didn't go.
Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Because,
the things you saw.
Yeah, that fucks up your head.
Yeah.
And it stays with me, and it isn't like an everyday thing.
Yeah.
It's like, that's where the dog comes in, and I'm really appreciative of UrbanPaws and Dave and his wife, Jenny, and stuff. It's just like, this dog's done so much for me in a short period of time, and even my psychiatrist said that.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to cry. Because
you can.
It's just unbelievable. This dog knows when I'm pissed off, and I have anger issues.
Yeah.
And, he just makes me melt. She does.
I mean, these dogs are special.
Yeah, they're different.
I don't know.
I've been around a lot of dogs,
Yeah.
but not my own.
Right.
Not like this dog.
Yeah, I mean, I love my Frankie and Oliver, but Zero to me is...
They're different.
I mean,
they're different.
A lot of credit to Dana breeding
Yeah.
these, I would say, perfect dogs.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a testament to why Jenny and I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
You are a true testament to it. Because, growing up, I didn't know I had PTSD.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it until, 5 years ago, so 6 years ago. And I wouldn't say I have anger issue. I had anger issues. What I did have was a lot of mistrust of people.
Well, that's automatic.
Right. And then it would be nightmares. It would be sadness, trying to understand why I was feeling. And I remember sitting in Jenny and I were going to counseling, marriage counseling, and the lady turned to me and she's like, "Dave, you need to be checked for PTSD because there's no way you don't have PTSD."
Yeah.
And it's funny because I would come home after work on duty and tell all these stories to Jenny and her parents, and they look at me like I'm fucking crazy.
Oh,
and I'm like, I'm smiling while I'm talking.
Yeah.
And because it excites
you know what it is. This funny is a defensive mechanism. I use it a lot.
Yeah.
People go, "Well, he's happy." You're like, that means don't talk to me.
Yeah, keep away from me. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I mean, for me, the last couple of years have been more difficult because I made choices of not, taking my medication, not seeing a therapist. So I was drinking more.
Yeah.
And
I did that too.
Yeah. And I used it as a coping mechanism because you forget, it's almost like you're more clear headed. There's some water right there.
Know.
You good? Okay.
Let's open it up with coffee.
Yeah. Like you need more energy.
No, I know.
Yeah. We were walking up to the podcast room and he's like, "Oh, I love this, but it ruins my inside." I'm like, "Yeah, I take one sip of coffee and I shit my pants.
Yeah.
It's horrible."
Yeah.
So let's get to the limo.
Okay.
How did you get into the business?
Well, it's funny. I worked for A1 Limo part time. I attended bar for 22 years too. I owned a couple of bars, which, that was my drinking problem. So somebody said, Jimmy, if you're going to drink the way you did, these are people I used to work for.
Right.
They said, buy your own bar,
Yeah.
I'm sick of, feeding your habit.
Yeah, right.
And I said, all right. So I went and bought my own bar, and that made it worse.
Right.
Because that's when my wife, I just got rid of her real quick.
Right.
Now, the bar was more important. Alcohol was more important.
Yeah.
And I had a little daughter then. Now, over the years, it was kind of strange and all that happened. But, then I ran into Mike Woodall one time at a store or something. And he goes, you're that bartender, Jimmy. He used to drink too.
Well.
And I go, yeah. He goes, would you like to drive a limo? And I said, I've done it a few times with the Teamsters.
Right.
85. And after that, I said, yeah, I'll do it once in a while, for extra money.
Sure.
So I went to work for him, and all his clients loved me. Next thing I know, this guy, his name was DeWitt. DeWitt used to work for Mike. He goes, oh, you got to meet Kevin O'Brien. Next thing I know, I'm Kevin's driver. Kevin is the general manager of Channel 2. I just took over everything he had, and they all wanted to be with me. So when I went to work for Lipschultz, David, and David was kind of funny at the time.
Okay.
He was really funny. He was like,
He
had too much.
Did he have Virgin already?
Yeah, he just got it. He
Okay,
just got it. He didn't have. He only had 2 cars. Him and Bob. It was
yeah. Okay.
So, and he was associated, but then he was working on this. What do you call this? I think one of the associated guys had Richard Branson.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So David ended up driving them, and they clicked, and then next thing you know, that's how Virgin
Limos started. Yeah. So for people who don't know, the gentleman he's talking about, Dave Lipschultz, is one of my mentors. Was part of my dad's company, associated as just a driver for Bob. Right.
Yeah,
he was driving for Bob.
Yeah.
I think he drove for other people, but
mostly Bob.
Mostly Bob. Yeah. And Bob Uziel's he's like my second cousin.
Yeah.
We would drive Richard Branson, and they, like you say, got connected, and then through that he formed a company called Virgin Limos with the actual Virgin logo. It was backed by Richard Branson. So,
right.
So keep going.
So anyway, I go see David, because Joe Turney worked for him. Joe was kind of a crazy fun. He worked for Associated part-time.
Oh, really?
They had to go get the car from him. He was one of those guys.
Okay.
So he goes, oh, David, you got to hire Jimmy. So David remembers me from the bars. He goes, oh, man, he's too crazy, man. I don't know if I could do that. He goes, well, I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
So I go down and talk to David, and David goes, Joe says, he can't bring over his clients. I go, they ain't Joe's clients. They're my clients. All those people, they're mine.
Right.
Not Joe's.
Right.
And why are you waiting for Joe to tell me to, not David. So David goes, I'll give you a couple of weeks. I go, no, David, please. I'll give you a couple of weeks, see if I want to work for you.
Wow.
Yeah. I go, no, I don't play that,
Right.
So next thing I know, the word gets out. Jerry Harris used to work for Mike Woodall too,
Okay.
And I brought all the drivers from them over to David.
Wow.
Said, you got to hire all these guys.
Oh my goodness.
So I destroyed Mike. I destroyed Mike.
Poor guy.
But that, David's going, that's backstabbing and stuff. And I go, business is business.
Right.
Back then, no.
Right.
No. You're not stealing anything. Fucking sign this thing. Oh, are you going to do that area for... That's a bunch of horseshit. The guy can move across the street.
If he wants to.
Yeah.
There's no law against
there's
it.
no law, But, you people are making such a big thing out of this.
Right.
So, Kevin O'Brien was the first one that found out I went to work for David, Virgin.
Yeah.
So I'm doing Ricky Ellison from Star Wars, the fucking sound guy.
Okay.
And I'm at the Skywalker Ranch. And I'm there, and David calls me on the phone. He goes, you got to call Kevin O'Brien. And I said, why do I got to call Kevin O'Brien? He goes, he's pissed off. He wants you to call him. He wants to know why you didn't call him and tell you you've changed companies and you're working for Virgin. I go, you call him back and you tell him You wait till I call him. Don't fucking do that shit to me.
Oh my
right?
God.
Well,
What year was this?
Shit, this is like 80, 88,
Okay.
89.
Okay.
Virgin Atlantic was already here.
Right,
So
right.
it could have been 91 too.
Okay.
It could have been in that area.
Okay.
So anyway, so David's going, great. So he calls Kevin. Kevin goes, you tell that son of a bitch to call me.
And you never called him back?
No.
Fuck no.
I said, call him back and tell him go screw off.
Right.
I'll call him when I'm ready.
Right.
So I get home that night and I called Kevin because I had all their phone numbers. And I said, yeah, Kevin. I said, what the fuck? I thought we were friends. I go, yeah, you thought that would be the first time you met me when I was working for Woodhawk too, huh?
Oh.
Me and him fought.
Wow.
Well, I picked him up and he goes, you know where Channel 2 is? And I go, I know it's by Jack London Square.
Right.
I'd never been in the station. Yeah. So he was all wasted and everything. I hope you're listening, Kevin. So anyway, so he's like back to me. He always had to have a stretch back then. So now I'm picking him up. He started giving me shit. He wakes up when we're at Jack London Square. It's only 2 blocks. The station's 2 blocks down.
Right.
He goes like this. He goes, you stupid son of a bitch. I go, who's a stupid son of a bitch? You're drunk. I'm sober. I fucking opened the back of the car. I said, you want to fight? He goes, yeah. What service were you in? I said, I was in the Marine Corps. He says, I was a Ranger. I said, let's get it on. We fought. We were bloody as shit. Both of us, man, were bloody.
And this is Kevin O'Brien from KTV.
Yeah, and we ended up being the best friends.
That is so funny.
The people at the stations were scared of me. They go, "Oh, that's Jimmy, man. That's Kevin's man. That's
Man,
Kevin's man.
don't fuck with him. Wow.
I used to run around the station like I owned it.
Really?
Kevin would be up on top and go, "Hey, Jimmy, leave those guys alone. That's production."
So were you his basic personal
Yeah,
driver?
yeah.
So you stayed with him every day?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, he drove me nuts.
Did he?
Then he got in like, he goes, "Oh, your sister does catering," and then everything, Brad made a lot of money doing that for him, And then, I drove people like Carol Burnett, and Carol Burnett was great. I drove all those people,
Give us some stories.
Carol Burnett was great. So one day, I'm already driving Richard Branson, right?
Okay.
So Carol Burnett, I got her and her personal assistant in the car, and I picked her up from Weston, I think. I'm not sure what hotel it was at the time. And I listened to the conversation, she's going back to Colorado to see her grandkids. And I'm listening to her. So we're by Candlestick Park, and her personal assistant goes, "Oh, Jesus, this is the wrong day. I brought the wrong ticket." And she goes, "Oh, my God, my whole family's waiting, and I got other obligations, too." And I go, "Where are you going?" I go, "What are you flying?" She goes, "I'm flying United." I knew this black lady was PR lady for United at the time. I can't remember her name. It's back that far.
Yeah.
And I said, "Wait a minute, let me make a phone call." So I made a phone call and I got a hold of her and I said, "Hey, this is Jimmy, the Virgin driver for Richard." "Oh, hi Jimmy, how are you?" I said, "I'm fine." I go, "I got Carol Burnett in the car and she has to see her grandkids. You got a flight going out of there soon? I'm by Candlestick." She goes, "Can you get here in 10 minutes? I go, "I'll be there in 10 minutes. I come flying up. They took her. She goes, "Who are you?" And I go, I'm just a driver, man. I'm Richard Branson's driver,
Right.
when he's in town.
Right.
But I drive a lot of, celebrities and stuff, And I don't know. It's just,
That's a cool story.
She tells her personal assistant, "Empty your pockets. I would give them all your money."
Oh, gee.
He only had about $60 or $70 on it.
Only back then, that was a lot.
Yeah, and I go, "Thank you very much."
Got in the car. What kind of car were you driving back then?
Oh, back then it was a square body, I think.
Okay.
It was not. It was one of the first turtles.
Turtles?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of the first turtles.
Wow. So, a couple more stories.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Richard Branson, I hope Richard doesn't get pissed off. So one time, Richard flies in, and that was David's. Him and David like that, right?
Right.
But me and Richard's mom and dad.
We're really
like
close.
Because I used to watch her all the time.
Okay.
And she worked for Pan Am in the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a stewardess for Pan Am. And Ted was a lawyer for, the Brits.
Right,
You know?
right.
He was what they call them, barristers. or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
He's always, Jimmy, tighten me up your top button, you know. I'm like, oh, God, Ted, you know, you drive me crazy. He goes, but they finally told Richard, you got to let Jimmy drive you, man. I'm telling you, you ain't going to believe this. Yeah, so next thing I know, you know, me and Eve got along great, you know, but so I'm driving Richard for the first time, and David's going like this, you know. Jimmy, don't get crazy, please.
Right.
I don't, no, David, you know me. I ain't gonna get crazy.
Yeah.
So, Richard, the first time I drove him, I picked him up from a hotel, and now this is the first time, and taking him to the airport. And David's at the airport, you know, wait, you know, it's about all these people. And I take him there, and Richard goes, "Can you drive as good as David?" And I looked at him, I go, "David could drive good?"
Oh,
I go, are you kidding me? I go, so we're on the ramp, and he goes, so we're getting into nationalities and stuff, so he called me a spit mech, you know. Yeah, he goes
That's
like this,
funny.
yeah, he goes like this, oh, you're Spanish and Irish, and he goes, oh, you're a spit mech, and I go, yeah, got good teeth, though. You know, and he goes, you know, he goes, are you sure you're good as David? I put on my brakes on the ramp. You know, you want David to drive you? I'll call him right now. He goes, come on, let's go. I go, I ain't going. And he goes, I'm only kidding. He's massaging my shoulder. So
So you had a good relationship.
Oh, yeah. Me and Rich got good. So the next time he comes to town, he goes, I want Jimmy to drive me. So David's here, and David thinks he's going to jump in the car with me and Richard.
Right.
It didn't happen. So David goes to get the car. He goes, get out of here, Jimmy. So I step on the gas. And David's on the phone calling me going, where are you guys going? I can't tell you.
You're not allowed to know.
Yeah, so we're going to Los Canas.
Okay.
So take him up in the fucking hills, and it's getting late, you know. I said, I can't see nothing. He goes, don't worry. I'll know where it's at. I go, come on. I can't even see a number. He goes, don't worry. All of a sudden I see this flashlight on top of it. Flashing. He goes, there it is. There's 5 driveways up. It did go right up the driveway. Go up there. Here's this beautiful girl. And I'm going, oh my God, because he's married and Jody's great.
Right.
The kids are great. You know,
Right.
Holly and Sam, you know, and I'm going, oh my God. And I go, who's this? And he goes, none of your business, but she's the first fighter pilot. And I go, are you serious? And he goes, well, I find out later that her and her husband are really tight.
Okay.
And he was out of town, and she was staying at the house. And I go, you want to take some of your clothes? He goes, don't tell David. Don't tell anybody where I'm at. I go, don't worry. I ain't saying nothing. He goes, you just be back here around 9 tomorrow.
Wow.
I said, okay. So I'm sitting in the driveway. I'm always early.
Right.
So I'm sitting in the driveway. He comes out. He's wearing all these different clothes. I'm looking at him. I go, first former fighter pilot. He's your best friend's wife. You know, something ain't right here, you know.
Right.
He's going, don't think the way you do. And it's not true.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I believe you. I
Yeah.
believe you, you know. And he goes, you know something what I like about you? David doesn't know shit. He doesn't know where I'm at. He's freaking out.
Right.
You know, because he's calling everybody.
Trying to find
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not answering. I had it with David. I go, after I told 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So me and Richard, you know, hit it off.
That's great. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
What? Do you, one more for me. A funny one.
A funny one. Oh, a good one was, I don't know if this is funny to some people. Well, Michael Bolton, I threw out of a car. Yeah.
Why?
Because at the time, he's at a recording studio at 5th and Mission, and he had to go over by, right, it's about maybe a mile down the road, then you go up over the hill to this other recording studio. It's by the Skyrocket Ranch.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly neighborhood, but Rusty Harmon and shit. That's the funniest story, Rusty Harmon. How much I'll tell you.
Yeah, tell me.
But Michael, you know, he's going, well, I have your job. So I just pulled my keys out and I throw them at him. I go, you could have this job, you know, get out of the car.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So next thing you know, and then, who was it? It was Mike. It wasn't with David. It was about Mike. Mike stuck up for me, you know. Guy wanted me to run red lights and shit.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
No fucking
I
get in
ain't
trouble.
gonna do that shit.
Dude, I even sometimes.
Because he was late.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
his fault.
Yeah. Well, Kevin O'Brien did that shit with me. You know what I did?
Well,
Really? Are you going to be that way? You don't care how I drive? Okay. San Francisco, one-way streets, wrong way. But down alleys, because I know the city like
right,
race.
right.
He's freaking. He's going, never asked me to do that again. And Rusty Harmon one was a good one. So I go out to the recording studio. I think it was Metallica. No, it was at the recording studio. I was trying to get over the hill with Michael Bolton was supposed to go there too.
Okay.
But Rusty Harmon was the general manager for Hootie and the Blowfish and Leonard Skinner band.
Okay.
So he's in there doing a set with somebody, and he keeps on telling me 1 minute, and I keep saying, "You're gonna miss your plane," you know.
Yep.
You know. So I'm sitting there, you know, with people, you know, in the kitchen, you know, I'm eating and stuff. You know. Next time he comes out, he goes, "Man, I'm gonna be late. Can you get me there?" I said, "Yeah, hang on though. I'm going across the bridge. I'm doing about 80." Oh yeah, back then I was that crazy. You ask any of your uncles and stuff who knew me.
I'm going to have to ask you some of my uncles.
The stories you hear about Jimmy, man, they're true.
True.
So I get him at the airport. The guy, I'm watching the rearview mirror. His hands are like this. he's freaking, you know. So I get him at the airport. He made his plane, you know, and he goes, "Oh my God, you scared the shit out of me." And I go, "Well, don't tell me to do stuff if you don't want me to do it."
Right.
You know?
Well,
because you know, I'm a person. Sometimes, you know, my brain thinks different.
Right.
You know, and you're gonna get a ride, you know. So when he came back about 3 months later, I seen him and I had to go pick him up again, and he was laughing. He got, "I'm early." Don't worry.
I got time.
That's a funny story.
That's funny.
He was a funny guy.
Man, you got some really good stories.
Yeah, well, the other, here's a good one for limo. This is all limo stuff. It was like, so Richard, when I first, you know, started doing the Virgin thing, I ended up driving Rusty, which is Apollo 6, the astronaut.
Okay. Wow.
So Rusty gives me, he goes, "So you drive Richard, huh?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, him and that Steve was going around the world in the balloon.
Right.
So he goes, "Can't make it, huh?" He goes, "Give him my card when you see him." So it's funny about Richard. So Richard couldn't believe how many people I know.
Right.
You know, and so I pick up Richard one day and I said, "Wait a minute, Richard." I pull out the card, you know, I like, "Give it to him." And he goes, "How do you know him?" He goes, "He told me to tell you he's going to teach you how to go around the balloon and teach you how to do it."
Oh my God.
Richard goes, "You're something else, man. Who are you anyway?" Everybody says that. Who are you?
Well, you've been in the business a lot. You were in the business a long time. And David
Yeah.
had an amazing clientele list.
Yeah.
So you got to
Yeah.
meet a lot of
Yeah.
A-listers.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, obviously, it's funny because we met at Butch's birthday.
Yeah.
You knew my dad.
Yeah.
I didn't know you.
Yeah.
I mean, you know all my uncles.
Well, I heard your name a lot, you know.
It was just so funny.
But I never met you.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we were sitting down and we were talking about the limo business, and then David Lipschultz said, "Hey, you know, he might be a good candidate." He asked me what I was doing next, and I said, "I'm starting UrbanPaws,
Yeah.
blah blah blah." And then he was
That's
like,
how
"You should talk to,"
Yeah.
and then ever since then, you're part of the family.
Yeah.
now.
I love it.
Yeah, we love you. I mean,
I love you guys. You know, you really changed my whole life. Yeah.
I appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
It means a lot to me.
Yeah,
You know,
and you're
my
stuck with us.
family, my grandkids, they all love me. They love the dog. They go, "Why didn't you do this a long time ago, Grandpa?"
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
they knew I was always on edge.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, we love having you
Yeah.
come into the office. It's fun for Zero to have his sister
Yeah,
there all the
yeah.
time. So, thank you again for being on the show.
Okay.
Really appreciate it. Maybe we'll revisit some other stories
Oh
next
yeah.
time.
Well, yeah, I got a lot of them.
Got to start writing them down. I told
I
Butch,
will.
you guys
Yeah.
can write it.
I got a couple of Butch gonna piss off me. I'll tell you those
we'll,
later.
We'll do that on the next episode.
Yeah.
Thanks again, dude, for being with us, and
No problem, Dave.
keep up what you're doing with Beretta.
I
She's a
will.
great dog for you, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much, man.
Thanks, guys, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you in the next episode. Have a
Okay.
great day.
Whoa.
Wow.
That was good.